To most American fans who might be in the stadiums at the 2026 World Cup watching Algeria, they best know them as the victims of one of the U.S.'s most iconic World Cup moments, Landon Donovan's 2010 last gasp, game-tying Go USA goal. But the North African country has one of the deepest soccer legacies on the continent and is intertwined with the heritage of some of the game's biggest names. With just one knockout round appearance, but no wins, they're hoping a tournament on U.S. soil will bring better luck. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules, where you'll learn everything you need to know about all 48 of the national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup. From the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, and cultural moments. I'm David Goss, and today we're talking about the Fennec Foxes of Algeria. Algeria's most well-known player is Captain Riyad Mahrez, a two-time Premier League champion, two-time Algerian Footballer of the Year, and the 2016 African Footballer of the Year. 6 years ago, he led Algeria to its second-ever AFCON championship, a thrilling 1-0 win over Senegal in the final, secured Algeria's first title since 1990.
The referee blows the whistle. Algeria are champions of Africa. Algeria have done it. They won their second Africa Cup of Nations title and their first in 29 years.
That 29-year wait was torture for one of Africa's most passionate fan bases.
People in Algeria, they genuinely, I know it's a bit cliche, but they live and breathe football. Like, it is honestly as close to life and death as it gets in Algeria. It will inflict people's moods depending on local club results. And honestly, it's a much nicer place to be when the national team's doing well.
That's Dean Ammi, an Algerian football journalist. Algeria's place as an African power, but also a country with a large diaspora population, which I'll touch on more in a bit, makes it a well-supported team all across the globe.
The national team's huge, not just in Algeria, but with the Algerians living across the whole world, because obviously you've got the diaspora, you've got like 6 million living in France, you've got several in England, you've got several in the States, Canada. So there's Algerians living all over the world, and you only got to look at where the players were born to see just how global the national team is. So I'd say the club fans are like sort of in Algeria, it's huge, but then the national team, you've got the Algerians in Algeria plus the ones living all across the world.
In the late 1800s, soccer came to Algeria via the French occupation. In 1882, the first club was founded, making it the oldest club in Algeria and one of the oldest in all of Africa. The club was founded by and made for only European settlers, something that would be replicated in multiple cities throughout the country. Muslim and local clubs started to form in the early 1900s as soccer started becoming more popular with Algerians. These clubs would be used as a sporting venture, but at times they would serve as a place for youth to gather politically, culturally, and more. After Algeria's independence in 1962, the Algerian FA was founded, and in 1963 they joined FIFA, and then the next year they joined the African Confederation. Algerian clubs have been a mainstay in African competitions. They may not be the powerhouse, but Algerian clubs have won the CAF Champions League a handful of times, and they have 2 CAF Confederation Cups. The Fennec Foxes have made 4 World Cup appearances in 1982 and 86, and then in 2010 and 2014. In 2014, they finally reached the knockout stages for the first time before falling to eventual champions Germany in extra time. But their biggest World Cup moments both came in 1982, with Germany heavily involved. It was Algeria's greatest moment, followed by their worst. I'll let Dean take it from here.
So this was the first ever World Cup for the Algerian team. This is back when only 2 teams from Africa would be allowed to qualify for the tournament. And Algeria played Germany in the group phase and beat them 2-1. And prior to that game, people were saying 6-0, 7-0, 8-0 to Germany. And then Algeria went and beat Germany 2-1. But unfortunately, we got what was called the Disgrace of Gijón, where pretty much Germany and Austria played out a 1-0 and passed the ball around the back for 90 minutes to ensure that Algeria were eliminated from the group phase. And since then, that is the reason why that the final group games of any major tournament are now played at the same time, because of what happened to Algeria in that 82 World Cup. So that legacy will live on forever.
Because of Algeria's close proximity to Europe, there is a huge diaspora population, which has a fundamental effect on the country's national team. There are about 1 million Algerian citizens living in France, plus an estimated 5 million more of Algerian descent. The large diaspora, especially in France, has allowed the Algerian national team to pull from a wider pool of players. A lot of the Algerian national team players represent their birth countries at youth national team levels and then switch to Algeria. In the last international window, over half the players called were born outside of Algeria, but all, of course, have Algerian roots. Top players like Riyad Mahrez, Ismail Bennassir, and Rayan Aït-Nouri are some recent examples. This situation doesn't always work out in favor of Algeria. There have been some huge names with Algerian roots who played for France in the other direction. Kylian Mbappe, for one, Karim Benzema, and of course, Zinedine Zidane. Now, though, Zidane's 27-year-old son, Luka, has just received his first Algeria call-up. After representing France at the youth levels, we might see a Zidane for Algeria at a World Cup. Using this mix of homegrown and international talent and taking advantage of the expanded field, Algeria cruised through World Cup qualifying. They topped Group G with an 8-1-1 record, scoring 24 and conceding 8. Experienced Bosnian head coach and former Switzerland international coach Vladimir Petković took charge in February of 2024. He's been praised for bringing back competition in the squad and being tactically flexible. Petković has used a mixture of possession and direct play depending on the opponent. He's used different formations, including a back three, but in the last 2 international breaks, he has firmly used a 4-3-3. He's an obvious option for coach of this team. Bosnian-Herzegovinian himself, but coming up in Yugoslavia, he played in teams that had cultural and language mixes, and then, of course, coaching Switzerland, he coached a team that had players from different backgrounds and spoke different languages. And it feels like this fit of homegrown as well as diaspora community players for this Algerian national team could be the perfect group for him to manage.
So a lot of those old heads from the AFCON win are still around. So Mahrez is still very much the first name on the team sheet. He is the captain of the team, so he's pretty much going to start every game. And you've still got a couple of guys at the back like Aïssa Mandi and centre-back who'll still be around as well. But there's some really good Algerians coming through that play in Europe. You have Ibrahim Maza, for example, who was courted by the German national team and switched the Algerian team, now playing for Bayer Leverkusen. He's a very good player. You've got Faris Shaibi at Frankfurt. You've got Mohamed Amoura scoring goals for fun at Wolfsburg. And you've got a couple of players that have sort of switched nation as well, like Hussam Aouar, once played a couple of games for France national team, is now playing for the Algerian national team. You've got Ben Sebaini, centre-half from Dortmund. We have got some good players in this setup. The question is, can they all gel together from what the clubs and continents they play in to really put a good string of results together next summer?
One of the young players who is the brightest young star coming up for Algeria is the 24-year-old Manchester City left back Rayan Aït-Nouri. He had his breakout season last year with Wolves in the Premier League, where he registered 4 goals and 7 assists. Then in June of 2025, he signed with the big boys, Manchester City, for a reported initial fee of 32 million euros and a potential bonus of 5.2 million more. He's known for his defensive work as well as his attacking prowess from the left back or left wing back position. Algeria has had some great players, but none bigger than Rabah Madjer. He started his career at his local club, NA Hussein Dey in Algiers. After 4 seasons, he decided to make the jump abroad. He joined Racing Paris, who at the time were in the 2nd division in France. He helped them reach the 1st division, scoring 20 goals in the 1983-84 season, and he played with them for half the following season before moving to Tours to close out that year. Following his success in France, Madjer signed with Portuguese giants FC Porto, where he went on to play 138 matches and scored in more than half of them with 71 goals. His most important goal, though, came in the final of the 1986-87 UEFA Champions League, where he scored the 1-1 equalizer, which eventually led to a 2-1 win for FC Porto. That goal was a sublime, deft, backheel goal where he lets the ball run around his left leg and slowly guides it in with his right. After his success with Porto, both Bayern Munich and Inter Milan tried to sign him, but due to previous thigh injuries, he failed the medical. Inter Milan made the official announcement and took the pictures, but the contract was never actually signed. So Madjer ended up on a short loan at Valencia, but eventually just returned to Porto for 3 more seasons. He finished his career in Qatar and overall played 87 times with Algeria and scored 28 goals, including the country's first ever World Cup goal back in 1982. In his post-playing career, he tried to coach, and let me tell you, it does not work. He coached Algeria 4 different times across a 25-year span. None of them lasted for more than 2 years. None of them did he qualify for a major tournament. But as a player, he was African Footballer of the Year in 1987. He led the UEFA Champions League in goal scoring that same year. He was AFCON Team of the Tournament twice, and he is ranked 5th place in African footballers of the 20th century. And you know, one of those funny things when you're a kid and you hear something and you think it must be facts. So I played with someone growing up who was related to Madjer. And the way it was explained to me, both that backheel goal was called the Madjer, and that's what people called it, which I've never actually been able to confirm. The other story I was told, 2 more. One is that he was the coach with Algeria who told Zidane he was too slow to play at the international level when Zidane was a teenager coming through and wanted to try his hand at playing for Algeria. Again, have never found confirmation for that. The third story is that goal against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. When you go back and watch it, he goes out with an injury and is helped by a trainer on the sideline. At the time, referees didn't have to wave you back on when you were ready to come back in. And so he waits and bides his time, and as the ball goes to the other side of the field, he pops off the sideline, makes the run, scores the goal, unmarked, and afterwards, that is when they decided that you had to be waved back on by the referee. To be clear, I did research on all 3 of these. I could not prove that any of the 3 were true. So take that with a grain of salt. It's easy to say that Algerian soccer history is just Algerian history. Soccer has been used in Algeria as a form of resistance against colonialism since the early 1900s. It served as a very important cause, uniting the country even when things were not going in the right direction. The biggest example is the FLN football team, which represented the National Liberation Front.
Yeah, so obviously Algeria gained independence from France in 1962. So prior to that, there was not an Algerian national team, as Algeria was not an independent nation. But what there was is this FLN team, as you mentioned, who were pretty much the Algerian national team before they were an entity. And they pretty much were sort of the foundations laid for what the national team is now. So many, many inspirational heroes in that team. And of course, some of them did become official Algeria internationals once independence was reached.
Algeria was drawn into Group J with Argentina, Austria, and debutante Jordan, and they'll play their group games in Kansas City and San Francisco. It may not be the biggest Algerian hubs. Canada would have been a nice landing spot for this team, but no matter what, the millions of Algerian fans around the globe and at home will be tuning in.
So I think the Algerian communities abroad will all huddle together, watch the games together, and of course the Algerians back home will probably be given time off to watch the games. I remember the game against Russia in 2014, the draw to put Algeria through, and the next day, no one went to school, no one went to work. It was just an incredible atmosphere.
Well, that's it for the Fennec Foxes, but we always like to leave you with 2 things, a prediction as well as a fun fact. On the field, stars like Riyad Mahrez and ait-Nouri should be gunning for a trip into the knockout rounds. This has been one of the best teams in the world. They've shown it at the AFCON level. They just have not been able to put it together correctly around World Cup timing. But this is a group that will have confidence. They will have belief that they could step on the field and go toe-to-toe with anyone else in the world. I think a round of 32 makes sense. I think belief they could make the round of 16 also should be there for Algeria fans. And while you're watching Algeria, have yourself an iced coffee, because it was invented in Algeria. Back in 1840, a French soldier made a drink called mazagran, which is considered the first iced coffee in history. It's cold, sweetened coffee drink, traditionally made with espresso, ice, and a little bit of lemon juice. Sounds perfect to me. Well, stay tuned for the rest of our Kickback World Cup capsules. Make sure to follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts.